All right, welcome back to another live. I am here with the one and only Eddie Saunders Jr. Eddie, super excited to have you on. Man, I'm excited for people to hear from you, man.
Dude, it's just awesome to be here, man. Love saying good things from the high volumes and hopefully inspiring others. So if people can take away a couple things today to implement in their own journeys, I think we both succeeded.
Yeah, we don't have to go crazy on background and everything like that, but I do want to say this methodology that I've learned that has really changed my career of building relationships with other people by creating content with them. You were one of the first people. I don't think that you were the first, but you were like in the first two or three people that I actually interviewed to create content back when I was working at Cadena's Part Solutions. I interviewed you about, and you were at a different company at that point. You hadn't started your own thing yet, so yeah, it's been fun to kind of learn and do this journey at a similar time. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about personal branding and how personal brands create opportunities. And I've definitely seen that for me in my career. I mean, the investment that I've made in building a personal brand and putting myself out there and developing my own points of view on things and building relationships through LinkedIn and through social has absolutely changed my life. But I know that it's had a huge impact on you as well. And it's helped you be able to start your own business with SpeakFriend. And so what I want to lead off with here is, when did you first realize that it was worth the effort to build a personal brand? Like, when did you get that first win where you were like, oh my gosh, this is totally worth it?
Well, I mean, I went into it really just from I want to make more content. Like that was really always the goal and the intention, and anything that happened as a result of that was just going to be kind of icing on the cake. I've always been really fascinated with the idea of social media, being able to be born in a very opportune time to live before it and then now in it. And so I can consider myself very, very lucky. But it became a collection of things, honestly. And I was getting more and more feedback of, oh, hey, I saw you on LinkedIn, or hey, I saw you here, hey, I saw you there. And I started realizing, man, way more people are paying attention than what I ever thought. And that still rings true to this day, regardless of the network that I've built, regardless of the things that I've done, the noise that I've made. I'm still to this day baffled at the amount of people who are actually paying attention, who may not always be commenting, may not always be sharing or engaging, but you know they're paying attention. And so when you get those little hits of validation, I've made lots of bad content, don't get me wrong, and I'll be the first person to tell you, right? But when I started getting noticed and recognized, and then eventually getting invited to speak places, and I'm like, oh, I'm on to something. And I thought, iron is hot, I'm striking.
Yeah, man, and that's an amazing experience when you go to a conference or you go to an in-person event. Like I used to, for my job, I was the guy that put together the booth and sent the graphics over, plan the events, right? And then I go be at the booth, and then you just kind of, the first couple times maybe you sit at the booth and you twiddle your thumbs, and then you get good at it and you start going out and you're meeting people and networking with people. But man, when you have somebody who you've never met before that comes up to you at an event and goes, oh man, I love your content, can I get a picture with you? You're like, what's going on here? This is crazy.
Exactly, exactly. Because me, like, I keep my head in the clouds and feet on the ground. It's a phrase that I use a lot. And so, like, I'm super uplifted by that. Because, of course, like, what human being is not going to be just super excited about that? About getting positive attention, getting that affirmation that some seek more than others, but just receiving that, knowing, okay, I flew my freak flag a little bit. And maybe it's not as weird as what I thought it was, or maybe there's just more weirdos out there just like me. And you find your people, you find your tribe. But that being said, I always had big ambitions with head in the clouds, but I keep my feet on the ground because I'm still some middle-aged dad of four who lives quite literally in the corner of a cornfield in Ohio. So I don't really take myself too seriously. But I'm uplifted and very, very thankful. But I don't put my identity on what others think about me. I just kind of try to respond strategically, knowing that I'm leveraging a social platform to leverage the very first word, and that is social.
Yeah, I think when some people think of personal brand, and I probably had this idea when I was first starting out myself, it's like you're thinking almost like influencer marketing and B2C. And even though it can be like that, I think that if you're having that mindset where you're like, oh, I'm going to become famous, or on the flip side, like, I don't care, my identity's not in that, I'm just good at my job, why would I take the time to do that? Like, how is this going to actually impact my career? Like, I don't need people to see me online. In fact, I don't want people to see me online. I just want to kind of stay in my own corner. But part of what I wanted to dig into is, well, how has this created opportunities for you? And by opportunities, I know that for both of us, we've gotten actual business through personal brand, and both for companies that we've worked for, but now that we're both running our own thing, we've both gotten business through personal brand. So can you tell me about tell me a little bit about a story where you've seen building a personal brand or putting yourself out there online has led to a business deal?
I mean, it's led to a lot of great opportunities, and I'll be super upfront. When I was initially, for example, like when I was running their demand gen there, all my content essentially was a brand play. So it really wasn't like by selfish means that I was trying to promote me. I'm just a firm believer that since we as humans communicate to one another every single day and we transact with one another, that B2B and B2C is H2H. That's human to human. And so I honestly just tried to humanize the brand. Where I saw in the manufacturing industry, so many people were trying to just shove features and benefits down your throat like they have been for the last 30 years and relying on a Rolodex of your standard network and good old boys and golf clubs and things along those lines. Like, I wanted to change it up a little bit. And through that, there were good wins. Like, I know we like to focus on just like, what did it do for me personally? And I'll definitely hit upon that. But I would be failing the audience to not at least recognize that taking that as a strategy to humanize the brand and make CNC equipment and all of this just from a human perspective and using humans to be the communication channel, because I truly believe that humans are the best channels for communication, specifically in marketing. So it was all super strategic. It wasn't me just willy-nilly posting some things, trying to look cool and give everybody my human highlight reel. It was very intentional. Now, what happened as a result of that, I would have never expected, would have never imagined. But it was good things like when people would come into our facility, like we'd have customers who are considering buying, 300, 400, 500 plus $1,000 pieces of capital equipment machinery. And they walk in, they say, hey, guy from the videos. And so, as a kind of bridge from knowing, like, okay, you're on to something, it has created so much opportunity for me to where, like, even after the fact, when I transitioned to a much larger role, my resume didn't matter anymore. And even now, with me starting my business, I would have not been able to as successfully and as quickly ramp up in my business if it not were for all of the years of hard work that I put in. So it didn't happen by overnight, or didn't happen again overnight, but it also for sure did not happen by accident.
Yeah, and I want to address something there too, because I feel like this is a big tension when we talk about personal brand. Is like, well, why would you be selfish? And like, I've experienced that before, working somewhere in the past where I started a podcast, and people at the company I was working for, some of them started being like, "Oh, why is Joe talking about XYZ on LinkedIn or whatever?" But I was literally getting decision makers at accounts that had gone dark on us to talk with me on my podcast. And I'm like, well, first of all, I could do, there's nothing wrong with me doing something that is building my career anyway. And, if you're working at a company that's going to be treating you poorly because you want to build your career and you want to go places in your career, that's not really a great place to be anyway. But on the flip side, building a personal brand absolutely positively impacts the company that you're working for. And if more companies embrace that idea and they understand people buy from people, and especially if you're in the services or you're selling really expensive equipment like you're talking about, there's so much trust that's involved in that. So instead of trying to shut down the one employee who's actually doing you a huge service by giving you free press or free attention, if you have multiple people on your team that are doing the same thing, then if that person gets a better opportunity and they move on, you've got other people on your team that are doing the same thing. So instead of trying to shut down the one person who's helping you out, figure out what they're doing and try to get other people on your team to do the same thing, because it is the way that people buy. And the more that we dive into AI and, the more people are outsourcing things, with very transactional ways of doing marketing and sales, automated outreach, automated, all that stuff, the more powerful that relationships become and the more important they'll be.
I completely get it. And there's a huge shift. For 3.5 years while I was at this specific company, I was just flying the flag. I was the guy. I put the brand on my shoulders. And and when I went from being treated like an asset to a liability, it became very apparent because there was fear there. And I said this in front of a couple hundred leaders and managers at the Industrial Marketing Summit. You have this fear if you empower me and I leave, but what happens if you empower me and I stay? It's a huge thing that so many people, they get caught in this analysis paralysis and this fear. And the thing is, though, I'm going to be blunt and be honest because I'm my own boss right now, and a lot of people need to hear this. Your inability to manage talent is not the talent's problem. Someone building their personal brand is the same thing as you featuring a VP or some of your C-suite executives on interviews, putting them on podcast. It's the same thing as you leveraging them. What's the difference aside from the positional exchange there? And if you even think about it, those individuals have a higher frequency, higher reach, and probably are being sought after much more because of the position that they are in their lives. So if you're worried about losing somebody for creating a personal brand, you need to personally audit your ability to handle, manage, and foster talent. That's you problem, not a personal brand builder problem.
Yeah, I mean, and what happens if you empower them and they stay and they train other people on your team to do the same thing? Because corporate marketing, brand, quote unquote brand marketing is not that effective. And like, if it's that, there's all kinds of different opinions and points of view on that, but I have yet to see that be extremely powerful. But I have seen when you have people on your team that are building relationships with people, that moves deals way faster than brand marketing. I'm not saying that there's no value in it, but when there's personalities that are driving your business is going to move much further, much faster. And so figuring out how to get people on your team to be building their own personal brand, and then you're getting the value of what they're doing is insane. Because you're basically getting your team to be doing extra work for you for free, but not in a way that's actually even more valuable to them. Like it has such a career bump for them as individuals that it's worth it for them to be doing something that at the same time pulls your brand up. Because for me, I've seen opportunities come for the companies I've worked through by, bringing in deals, finding partners. I've had two extremely good people come to work for our company that came through my personal brand. So, there's so many different angles that empowering your team to do that. But anyway, that's enough about saying why companies should do it. Where have you seen? Well, you've gotten a lot of speaking opportunities and things like that through putting content out there. So, when did you see that start happening, and how did you feel about it when you started having people reach out for you to speak?
It was incredible. I always question is like, hold on, you want to talk to me? What? What? Like that's the first thing is I was just really surprised because I do maintain that head in the cloud, feet in the ground situation. And I just know that I just don't find myself super interesting. And I say that in humility. But all that said, it was a really big kind of point, and it was really empowering when these people started asking me, hey, to talk about these things. And then it became more and more me being able to discuss marketing about it. Cause like I had spent a lot of my time in the sales world, but transitioning over into marketing is something I always wanted to do. So now I'm being asked to talk about it. I just feel like it was just a direct result of the time and the work and the effort that I had put in. So it was no accident to me. But I knew everything that I had put in prior to, and it really is super empowering. And I think that directly makes good content not only for myself but for the companies that I represent. And in hindsight, I'm sure the company I worked for would have been a lot happier if I was talking more about industry related content as it relates to their specific product. But I was doing so much of that anyway. And it's like, what do you expect? Do you expect me to not accept these opportunities because you're scared that I'm going to gain a little bit of attention and leave? The pressure goes back to your inability to handle talent, to be afraid that you can't do that. If that's the case, don't hire any talented people ever. So there's that, if you will. But it was just really empowering to start getting some of these opportunities to speak more, because I'm obviously passionate about industrial marketing. I think there's plenty of work still to be done, and I'm continuing to sound the alarm. So I took a lot of pride in that, not from where I thought I was better than others, and it, boosted my, I mean, it boosted my ego a little bit. Duh, I'm human. But I was just more really proud to be able to take the subject of industrial marketing and influencer marketing and demand gen within the industrial space and try to speed it up. Because if everyone has noticed, I have no problem giving away like my tips and stuff for free. I have no problem giving people as much information as I can so you can avoid all the mistakes that I made. And if podcasting and being interviewed becomes a channel for me educating those people, sign me up. Say less.
Love it. Yeah. So if you're listening and you've been impacted by Eddie's personal brand, or you've seen him around, because I know there's a few of you that are joining. So if you've seen Eddie and you've enjoyed his content, or you've seen him speak somewhere, or you've met him in person, and after seeing him online, then put a comment in there. Let me know something that Eddie said that's impacted you, or where you actually met Eddie in person after you've been seeing him online. That'd be fun to see that. But yeah, Kelly left a comment. She said, for the record, when Mark Rober worked at Apple, they told him they didn't like him making videos, but once the videos started doing really well, they got on board. So love it.
Yeah. Kelly, awesome. Good to see you as well, Kelly. You're an absolute gangster. And then congratulations on the recent LinkedIn milestone for Cadenas. Proud of you.
Yeah, love it. Kelly I used to work with Kelly. She's awesome. A social media maven for sure. She's on it. Okay, so let's kind of schedule a little bit of a shorter live here today. So as we wrap it up, I mean, yeah, I wish we had a little bit more time to talk about some more stories, but I want to leave people with some practical things that they can work on. So if somebody's on the fence and they go, okay, I could see the value in it. Like, okay, I could get speaking engagements, podcasting opportunities. I could have people come to me at an event, all kinds of different opportunities that come up. So if somebody goes, hey, I want that, what are some things that they could be doing?
One, just get started, and get started yesterday. For lack of a better phrase, like just start creating content. Because I never thought in a million years that, one, it would get any traction, or two, that I would get connected to so many individuals. Because as I've been building my little personal brand, it's just been me being me. And that's kind of another big thing, is don't be anyone other than yourself. A lot of people on social media like to create, and it is kind of a highlight reel in all reality. But when I've had struggles and challenges, I've expressed those and I've talked to those people. But I'm continuously thankful, because as I've just got started, and then I just keep creating. It's kind of like the whole Dory, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Yep.
Just keep creating, because getting started really is the hardest part. And your first post isn't going to go viral. Either is your second or your third. Your first video is not going to be great. Your first podcast is not going to be great. And not saying you have to do all those things, but if you shine your light to the world, people will notice. The wrong people will have their thoughts and opinions, but you will attract the right people, and you will find yourself a tribe. And my tribe now is larger than I could have ever dreamed of, and it's only getting bigger. And though there may be some quantity there, and I'm not as focused on the quantity, some of the quality human beings like yourself, Kelly,
Absolutely.
John there in the comments, all of those human beings have done so much, and it's provided so many synergistic efforts. And I'm immensely thankful for not only the effort that I've put in, but also the people that have connected and poured into me as well. Because as much as I'd like to say I've done everything on my own, I have risen on the shoulders of giants that I am forever in their debt.
I love it. Here, before I make a comment on that, John Joyce said, Eddie's the man, so fun, such a great heart and attitude. Couldn't agree more. Great way to sum it up. John, thanks for sharing.
Right,
yes,
my feels.
I mean, the one thing that I'll add is I feel like a lot of people, especially people who are not marketers, are not used to writing, they're not used to being on video or creating video, can get pretty intimidated when we go, well, just get started on your personal brand, create content. So if you want to get started with your personal brand, do a LinkedIn Live and interview somebody that and just ask them questions about their expertise. You don't have to have your unique point of view, be a catalyst for other people's point of view. And to me, the value of building a personal brand is less about me getting some crazy reputation out there. Like that's cool, but it's really what you said. It's building those deep, high quality relationships with people. And as I've been launching out in this business, I've been able to reach out to probably close to 100 people that I've had quality relationships with for years. And it's helping me to get the ball rolling on my business and getting me opportunities coming in because I've been investing in those relationships through a personal brand. So creating content with other people is an easy way to do that. Another thing that I think is a little bit easier for most folks is curate content. Now, don't post just as a tactical thing. Don't post a link to an article on LinkedIn. That's not going to do you any good. But
Shame.
if you read an article that you found insightful to you, share your top 3 takeaways and tag the author and say, hey, check out this article, and then post a link to it in the comments and say, hey, here's the article, check it out. But you don't always have to come up with something super original. Just start sharing about things that you're learning, or share an article that you've been learning and your key takeaways. And something as simple as that is a way to just get the ball rolling. And then as you do that, you'll start developing thoughts. Like as you have people on and you interview them and you're a catalyst for their ideas, you're going to start making connections and finding your own voice and your own unique point of view. Or as you are reading and sharing articles, you're going to start finding things that really connect with people, and you'll find the things that you should be focusing on and talking about yourself. So if you've got all these great ideas and your practice at writing, create that thought leadership content, just go for it. But if you're not there, there's lots of other ways to create content without, so I agree with you. Just get started in whatever way you can, in whatever way is the easiest and most consistent way for you to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and there's a little plus one for all the people who are paying attention here and watching, little bonus ad, which I hate to even call it a hack because it's so simplistic, but I only call it a hack because it's right there and nobody uses it. So when it gets used more, it becomes common practice. That is, jump in the comments section. I honestly got more traction and more connection, not from my singular post, but from jumping in other comment sections, because then you make yourself present in other conversations. So enter these rooms. And again, I hate to even call it a hack because it sounds like nothing new, nothing earth-shattering or groundbreaking, but it kind of is because so few people are actually doing it. So jump in the comments section, make yourself known, share your thoughts.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Cool. Well, let's wrap up there. It's a good place to leave. If you're struggling to know where to start, go to the comments, curate some content, interview somebody on a LinkedIn Live, and then start writing your own content. And yeah, what I tell people is your first LinkedIn Live is going to suck. Mine certainly did. It's going to be like, you're going to really stumble on the intro. You're going to look like an idiot. So if you just recognize that up front and just do it and get the first 1 or 2 or 3 out of the way, you'll get better at it. And you'll be more comfortable, and what you'll be getting out of it. Great high quality relationships that are going to help you grow your career. They'll help you grow your business, and they'll give you opportunities to serve other people and add value to them and find ways that you can be serving the market at the same time. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks Eddie for jumping on. Really enjoyed having you on.
Always a pleasure. Never a chore.